Shalom. So we are on Genesis 20, Bereshit 20. And we'll just get straight into it. Vayisav Misham Avraham Arza Hanegev Vayeshev Bein Kadesh Uvein Shur Vayagor Bigrar. Okay. So, Vayisa, so conjunctive of, it is in the consecutive imperfect, meaning that while the form is in the imperfect, because there's a vav at the beginning, it may be flipped, and I would say in context here, it makes sense that it is actually flipped into the past tense. So, what we would say is, so the root for Yisah here is Nun Sin Ayin. In modern Hebrew, it's actually it's used to drive, to travel. They're translating it as journey. Yeah, that's fine. So traveled. Misham, um, from there. It's in the third person masculine singular. So the prepositional mem is from. Sham is the ad. They're saying adverb. Um, there. I guess that's an adverb. Is that an adverb? There is an adverb. Yeah, it is. Sorry, mine not working for a second. So from there, Avraham, right? And that's his name, proper name. Artsa, so Eretz Aleph Resh Tzadek means land. Artsa, the hey at the end is not the feminine singular. That's the directional hey. And if you go over here, directional suffix directional hey, you'll see on this page it'll explain to you what the directional hey is. That's what's going on here. So towards the land of, they're just translating it very simply as to, but it's actually towards the land. Arza HaNegev. So this is in a um, yeah, Arza HaNegev, towards the land of the Negev. I guess this is in the construct form. Eretz HaNegev. Yeah, that's so. The hey goes on this. The article hey goes on the last noun in the construct form. This is a smichut, where two or more nouns um, come together to form a new construction. And here it's the land of the Negev, right? So towards the Negev. So he went from there towards the Negev, and Negev also means south, but the south of Israel is is desert, the Negev desert. So sometimes when we refer to the south, we mean towards the desert. Arta HaNegev, Vayeshev. So again, conjunctive of, and again, it's in the imperfect of Leshevet, Shin Bet Hey to. Oh, actually, this might be Yud Shin Vav. Yeah, this they're saying is Yud Shin Vav. So this is one of those roots. We have Shin Bet, and then either there are soft or less or guttural roots that might be around it. Dwelt. Yeah, he settled. Usually, I translate this as settled, right? Yeshev. Um, but it's in the consecutive imperfect. Again, we're gonna say that it's being flipped because of the vav. In context, you have to decide if the imperfect, because of that vav at the beginning of the word, is flipping it into the past tense or not. And I would generally agree with them that yes, it is. Vayeshev, and he settled, I would say, then they have he dwelt. Bain, preposition between. Kadesh is obviously the name of a place. Comes from the root holiness. Um, Uvain, so conjunctive of, again, the preposition between. Shur, again, and the name of a place. It is related to um, the root for oxen, shore, right? Shur. Um, Vayagor Bigrar. And this is one of the things that never translates into the English very well. There's kind of a pun here. Vayagor, again, conjunctive of, it's in the consecutive imperfect. Again, the root here is Gimel Vav Resh, which is usually translated as sojourned. Um, it also, I mean, it's to live someplace but not be a citizen, kind of to be a resident. We refer to a ger toshav, that is somebody who doesn't convert to Judaism but lives in the land of Israel according to the rules for a resident, right? Not a citizen, a resident. So vayagor bigrar. And so the prepositional bet, Gerar, is the name of a place, but obviously it is related to that same word, gur, to reside somewhere. Okay, let's look at and see how King James translate this. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country, right? So Negev they're translating as south, which is correct. And dwelled between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. Yeah, pretty much. I would agree with all of that. Maybe the dwelled I would translate as settled. Um, NIV. Now Abraham. Now they're translated. So that vav at the beginning, sometimes people will translate it different ways into now. Abraham moved on from there into the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while, he stayed in Gerar. So they're translating that sojourned into staying for a while. Let's look at Chabad. And Abraham traveled from there to the land of the south, and he dwelt between Kadesh and between Shur. So they're including both of the betweens there, right? And he sojourned in Gerar. And you can read the Rashis if you like. I am going to try to keep this brief. Verse 2, Vayomer Avraham el Sarah ishto, achoti hi, vayishlach aviv melech Gerar, vayikach et Sarah. And so this is a second time he does this. Vayomer, we have this many times, conjunctive vav, it's in the consecutive imperfect. The root is aleph mem resh, which is the softer way of saying things, right? The other one being vaidaber, dibur is a more harsh way of speaking. So he spoke. Right? I would agree with the flipping here, the consecutive imperfect. Avraham is his name. El is the preposition with the aleph, not ayin. Sarah is her name. Ishto, right? Ish means man. Isha means woman. Ishto means his woman or his wife. Achotihi. So he said regarding his wife, achot. So ach means brother. Achot, here written without the vav, which bechisaron, right? Which I would consider a little bit out of the usual. Achoti. I would generally expect a vav possibly there, maybe not. But if you're keeping track of whether things are written fully or missing letters, this would be what's called chaser or lacking. Achoti, my sister. So ach means brother, achot means sister, achoti means my sister, right? He, she is, right? So this is in Hebrew there is no present tense of the verb to be. So sometimes the pronoun is used when you want to kind of use that present tense of the verb to be. So here the pronoun for she is being used. And if you're paying very careful attention, I don't know if we've discussed this already, but in Hebrew, so the third person feminine is he, and the third person masculine is who. And in modern Hebrew, we do write those differently. But in ancient Hebrew, in the Torah, who and he are consonantally written the same, but pronounced differently. So what you'll notice is that the vav here, if we were writing this in modern Hebrew, we would actually, that vav there would actually be a yud, but here it is silent and we vocalize it he, right? So she is my sister, right? I don't know if we mentioned that before, but this happens throughout the Torah. I'm not even sure if ever in the Torah we come upon he written with the yud as we do it as we write it in modern Hebrew. Okay, vayishlach, and so again conjunctive vav. This is in the consecutive imperfect. The root here is shin lamed het, which means to send, right? We talk about stretching out your arm, yishlach yado, right? Or to send a shaliach, to send an emissary or an agent or an angel, right? Vayishlach. So and he sent Avimelech. So Avimelech is his name, and he sent Avimelech Melech Gerar. So Avimelech, the king, because it sounds so similar, because Avimelech means my father is king, and he is also the king. So Avimelech is the king of Gerar. Melech Gerar. This is in the construct form, of course, Melech and Gerar. The two nouns making one construction. Melech Gerar, king of Gerar. Vayikach. So again, conjunctive vav. It's in the consecutive imperfect. Lakachat. I would probably say the root is bof het he. This is one of those very commonly used and primitive roots that we see a lot that are a bit difficult to exactly. I mean, we know what it means, but what form it's in. I mean, all of these have so far been in the kal, been in the simple form, but lakachat, to take, right? It can also mean to marry, right? When you take a wife in Hebrew. So vayikach et Sarai, he took Sarah, right? Et is the direct object marker, and Sarah is her name. Obviously, that direct object marker isn't necessarily there always, and we do have a tradition to darshan to expound upon the meaning when the direct object marker does appear, because it's not always there. Okay, let's take a look at King James. And Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Avimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Yeah, I would agree with that. NIV. And Abraham said of his wife Sarah, she is my sister. Then Avimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. Sent for Sarah. Vayishlach. No. I don't know where they got the for from. Okay, NIV. And Abraham said about his wife, uh, about Sarah, his wife, she is my sister. And Avimelech, the king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Yeah, I would agree with that. And if you want, there is an interesting Rashi. I'll just read this Rashi. El Sarah Ishto, right? He's explaining that that El here, this preposition, which I always point out whether it's the one with the aleph or the ayin. This is the one with the aleph, and that's why I decided to read this. And about Sarah, his wife. El means about Sarah, his wife, and similarly, 1 Samuel 4:21, concerning the taking of the ark and concerning the death of her father-in-law. Both expressions of El have the meaning of Al, right, with the Ain. And you can see the Ibn Ezra and Targum, Yonatan and Targum Onkelos also say similarly. So that's this this preposition, these two prepositions, El with the Ayin and the Aleph, they're so close to each other. Sometimes, it's hard to distinguish them in the English. Obviously, they're different words in the Hebrew, because they sound so similar, especially to our modern ears. In ancient Hebrew, Ayin and Aleph were definitely considered different letters with different sounds, but I mean nowadays we just say them the same, so it's often hard to distinguish between the two. Okay, just wanted to point that out, and you can look at that Rashi and look up First Samuel 4:21 if you would like to compare. Okay, verse 3, Vayavo Elohim el Avimelech bachalom halayla vayomer lo hincha met al haisha asher lakachta vehi beulat Baal. Ooh, this is a very interesting sentence. Okay, so vayavo again. We have the conjunctive vav and the consecutive imperfect came, right? And they're translating the vav as a but. That makes sense. Okay. The root is a bet aleph hey, to come, and as usual, it's written without the vav there. Perfectly normal. And this is the Shem Elokut, right? One of the ways we refer to God, the more generic way we refer to God. El, again, the preposition with the aleph. Avimelech is his name. Bachalom. So prepositional bet with an article. Halayla. So this is and I would say Halom Halayla is actually well, okay. So there's two ways you can say this is doing. B'Halom Halayla. Um, my first inclination is to say that this is in a smichut, right? In a night dream, right? Chalom is written with a vav, which I guess is a little bit unusual. And it has the article and ha Laila has the article. There are two things. There are two ways you can possibly, I would say, translate that. Either that it was a night dream, specifically a night dream, or that it was a dream that night, right? That particular night. So either or both. That's up to you. my first inclination is to say that it is specifically a night dream, right? A dark dream, I would probably say, and the fact that it's written Chalom is written milui, is written in fullness. You might want to pay attention to that yourself as well. Vayomer lo, and he said, right? So again, conjunctive of um, um, consecutive imperfect, right? Where we would say it's being flipped as the rest of the text is. The root is amar again, aleph mem resh. Um, Lo to him, so said to him, hinecha. So hine is means is an interjection, oftentimes translated as behold, but hinecha means here you are. Yeah, it's specifically second person masculine singular. Hinecha met. Um, Behold, you are dead. And they're translating you're as good as dead. Yeah, I could translate that. Al is the preposition with the aleph. I mean, this is with the ayin, not the aleph. Ha isha, the woman. Right? Isha means woman. Ha isha means the woman. Asher, that is the pronoun relative, usually translated as that. Here they're translating as whom. Lakachta, so lakachat. So again, this is the root. Obviously, this is the same root to take, and like I said, this is it's always a hard one to say what the exact root is. I guess you could say the root is lamed kof chet. Although sometimes it seems that maybe the root is actually kof chet he, but lakachta, which you took, right? You have taken. It's in the perfect of the call. I might have to do just like a little explanation of this root lakachat. Um, it's an interesting one. Vehi. So again, so conjunctive of and he, right, is the third person feminine singular pronoun, and she beulat baal. Okay. Now beulat baal. You'll notice the kind of repetition there. The root we're talking about here is um, Bet Ayin Lamed, which means husband. You may recognize it as the foreign god Baal, right? Means a master. Um, but here they're saying it's the call passive imparticiple, beulat, um, in the smichut, beula. Um, Passive participle. Let's see here. Passive participle passive. Let's see what exactly they're saying. A passive participle is a non-finite verbal form with passive or reflexive voice that can function as a verb or verbal complement, an adjective, or a noun. Here it's being used as an adjective, I would say. In biblical Hebrew, passive participles most often function as an attributive adjective and a predictive adjective. In biblical Hebrew, participles are non-finite um, verbal forms that can change their form based on stem formation, like verbs, as well as person, gender, state, and definiteness, like both adjectives and nouns. Participles are very flexible in their grammatical use and can function as a verbal complement, a finite main verb, an adjective, or a noun. Again, here it seems to be using it as as an adjective. In most cases, the context will clearly show how the participle is being used in the sentence. The meaning of a participle is usually clear, even in cases where its specific grammatical function cannot be determined precisely. Passive participles express verbal action in either passive voice or reflexive voice. Passive voice means that the person, thing described by the participle receives the action expressed by the participle itself. Reflexive voice means that the person, thing described by the participle both performs and receives the action expressed by the participle itself. Only the call stem has a distinctive passive voice form for the participle. In all other cases, the passive or sometimes reflexive meaning is determined by the stem formation and a specific verb. And if you want, I mean, you can look at this more here on readthedocs.io. This is unfolding word Hebrew grammar and has all these morphological things. And if you want to, if you really want to get into the linguistics, Beulat Baal here, right? So Baal obviously here means a husband. Beulat Baal it's an adjective. It's being used as an adjective of Sarah, saying that somebody had made himself her husband, right? That's the passivity here, because be'ula, right? It's is in the feminine, so it's talking about her, right? And it's written by Hisaron. That's not strange at all to me, but it could have been written with a vav there between the ayin and the lamed. Be'ulat Baal. She's a woman who has known a husband, right? Um, yeah, that's all I'll say about it there. Okay, uh, verse 3, King James. But God came to Avimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "Behold, thou art but a dead man." But okay, for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. Okay, I can translate. I can accept that. NIV. But God came to Avimelech in a dream one night. Okay, so they're saying it's Halila. That's how they're translating it. I kind of want to say it's in the night dream. That's what it seems to me like. And said to him, "You are as good." Excuse me. You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman. Okay, that works. Chabad. And God came to Abimelech in a dream of the night, and he said to him, "Behold, you are going to die because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a married woman." Okay, yeah. I mean, I can. All of those pretty much, I think, say the same thing. Next, verse 4. Va'avimelech lo karav elecha vayomer Adonai hagoy gam tzadik taharog. Okay, interesting. Va'avimelech. So conjunctive of Avimelech is his name. Lo means not. Karav, the root here is qof resh bet, means to come close. Okay, he did not come close to her. This is in the perfect. It's in call perfect, most simple form of to come close. He did not come close. Eleha, right? So El is the preposition with the aleph. Um, Eleha onto her, right? He had not come close to her. Vayomer, and he said, right? Obviously, it's talking about Avimelech. Again, it's the conjunctive of, it's the consecutive imperfect, it's being flipped because of the context. Here, this is actually this is Shem Adinut. It sounds like how we pronounce the ineffable name, since obviously we can't pronounce the ineffable name. Um, this is the word Lord that it's written in the Hebrew as the word Lord, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, right? Adon means master. Uh, Adoni means my master, and in this form, it's in the plural, my masters, right? But it's actually speaking to about God, right? So we refer to God as my masters, or in the plural. So um, this is what this is, and people will confuse this with the Tetragrammaton. This is not the Tetragrammaton. Okay, just to be clear. Hagoy gam tzadik tarot. So this is a interesting formation, right? So the hey here, the article is actually it's an interrogatory. It's turning the rest of the sentence into a question, right? Um, and it is in a strange formation, right? Um, Goy means nation, right? Usually, when we refer to a nation, well, I mean, he is the king. Abimelech Melech is the king, but he's saying, will you kill even a righteous nation? But he's referring to himself. I'm kind of interested to see what Rashi says here. Um, Gum, the word gum, uh, it means also. Um, Hagoy gan tzadik. It's obvious what this means. The way it's written is just very strange to me. Um, will will you kill Gam Tzadik, a nation which is also righteous? Gam Tzadik. Tzadik means righteous. It comes from the root Tzadik Dalad of, um, meaning righteousness. Tzedek, right? A nation that is righteous. Hagoy Gam Tzadik Taharog. Will you kill? Right. The root here is um, Hey Resh Gimel, um, which means to slay, to kill, not to murder. Murder is retzach. This is this is not murder. This is not an unlawful killing. This is a herek, uh, is a lawful killing. Taharog, it's an imperfect second person masculine singular, um, written without the vav that as you would expect it to be. Um, Taharog, will you slay? Will you kill? Um, I know how I would translate this to English. I just don't. I'm not sure I am explaining the peculiarity of how it is um, it is being phrased. It's kind of peculiar. That's what I'll say. Let's look at King James. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, "Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation?" Yeah, I would agree. That is the meaning there. NIV. Now Abimelech had not gone near her, so he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Okay, let's see. Chabad. And Abimelech had not come near to her. Okay, and he said, O Lord, will you kill even a righteous nation? Let's see what Rashi has to say here. And it had not come near to her. The angel stopped him, as it is said, I did not let you touch her. So he's darshaning from verse 6 there. Um, okay. Will you kill even a righteous nation? Even if he is righteous, will you kill him? In that your way, is that your way to destroy the nations for naught? You did so to the generation of the flood and the generation of the dispersion. I too will say that you destroyed them for no reason, just as you threaten, say, to kill me. Apparently, this is from Genesis Rabbah, um, and Rashi seems to be specifically going on the fact that it says goy, which when we speak about the umot, the nations, we're speaking about non-Jews. So kind of like Avimelech is saying, hey, you're kind of playing favorites here with Abraham. Um, I'm not sure if I agree that the word goy, it's interesting why exactly it says Hagoy Gam Tzadik Taharod. Why it's going on the nation, because as far as um, so far we've had, we're talking about an individual, not the entire nation. But let's see what the verses tell us. Halohu Amar li achoti he vehi gam he amra achi hu betam levavi uvenikayon nikyon kapai asiti zot. Okay, so this is again an interesting verse. So that question that I asked before is actually being answered here. This is you'll notice that the he, one of the he's, there are several here, is actually written with the yud, not with the vav. So I guess it is in the Torah, who or he or she or it. So you can look at Strong's concordance here. Apparently, sometimes it's with the yud and sometimes it's with the vav. Um, uh, yeah, and you can look at everything that it says here in this is a very long entry trying to explain this stuff, I guess. Um, yeah, this is a very long. Uh, so who and he just different places in the Torah. Sometimes he is written with a vav and sometimes it's written with a yud. And this especially gets really confusing to the people who are Balei Koreh, people who read in the synagogue because the the scrolls themselves do not actually have the scrolls do not have the dots, the nekudot. They are not vocalized. It's only the consonantal text, and they have to remember which is which. And I'm guessing this particular verse makes life difficult for a lot of people. Okay, so halo, again, the hey, at the beginning is that is the article, but it's turning the sentence into a question. Okay, so is it not halo, right? Did not who, right? So which means he. Um, Amar said, right? This is Aleph Mem Resh. Li to me, right? Said to me, Achoti he. She is my sister, right? Achoti he. Um, and this is with the vav, not with the yud. Vehi and she again, and this time it's written with the yud, right? So there you go. Gam he and she, even herself, right? Gam he, also herself. Amra said, right? This is the feminine form of Amar. Amra achi hu. He is my brother. Betom. So prepositional bet. Tom here. Tough mem means whole or innocent. They're saying integrity. I would translate this in innocence, right? Um, Yaakov Ishtam, right? Yaakov, it's it's one of the attributes of Jacob is timimut, to be complete or to be innocent, to be naive, maybe, right? During the Passover Haggadah, we speak about the tam, the innocent the innocent brother, the one who doesn't, who's not wise, he's not the Rasha, he's not the Chacham, he is the simple son. That's how they usually translate simple. Um, Lebavi. So in the innocence of my heart, and so lev means heart. Levav also means heart. But we usually say that with the second bet, it refers to um, the evil inclination as well, right? We talk about a lev tahor, right, a pure heart, and levav usually includes um, a the evil inclination as well. You'll see that throughout the Bible. Okay, levavi, my heart, uvnikayon. So conjunctive vav, bet is the prepositional bet, and in nikayon. So they're translating as innocence. Naki means clean. Nun of yod. Nikayon, and it's written without a vav. That's a little bit strange. This isn't the most common way of saying things. You may want to use your concordance here. Look at other places where naki and nikayon come up, but in the cleanness kapai. So a kaf is actually it's not the word we usually use for hand. It's actually palms, right? But nikiat kapayim, right? He he has clean hands, right? With clean, I would actually translate this as clean hands or palms. Asiti zot. Asiti. The root is ayin sin hey, to make or to do, right? Asiya. Asiti, I have done this. And asiti is with a yud there. Not so strange, but it is bemilui. Um, you could darshan these sentences. I really think zot meaning this. It's in the feminine. What exactly? I mean, asiti zot. I have done this. So he's saying with a clean with an innocent heart and a clean hands. That's how I would have translated it. Let's see what King James does with this. Verse 5. Said he not unto me, she is my sister, and even she herself said, he is my brother, in the integrity of my heart and the innocency of my hands have I done this. Okay. Um, NIV. Did he not say to me, she is my sister? And didn't she also say, he is my brother? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. Okay, I like that better than the King James. Not exactly how I would do it. Chabad, did he not say to me, she is my sister? And even she said, he is my brother. With the innocence of my heart and the purity of my hands have I done this. Yeah. Okay. Next verse. 6. Vayomer alav ha-Elokim b'chalom gam anochi yadati ki betom levavcha asita zot ve'echshoch gam anochi otcha mechato li al ken lo nataticha lingoa eleha. Interesting sentence. Okay. Vayomer conjunctive verb. It's in the consecutive imperfect. Amar, to say. Elav, to him. With this is with the aleph, not ayin. Ha Elokim, right? The God, right? So that hey at the beginning, the article there, it doesn't really translate very well. The God said to him. I don't know how you would translate that article being there into the English, but in the Hebrew, uh, okay, so I would personally say that this kind of makes it sound like it's the same angel spoke to him. That he, like Rashi. I guess this is where Rashi gets the angel who kept him from that. That is somewhat implied in that article there. Um, yeah, Bachalom, in the dream, without a vav, with an article in the dream. There's translating in a dream. I would actually put the there, right where it's the same dream, right? It's all one thing. Gam anochi, also I. Um, the anochi is the more formal way of saying I, and we do relate it to the first word of the Ten Commandments, where God says, Anochi Havaya Lakecha. I am the Lord your God. So, Gam Anochi, also I, Yadati. The root here is Yud Dalet Ayin, to know. Ladat, although Yadati, I also knew, right? But I mean, it is a perfect. It is perfect in the perfect tense, but I can understand translating that in the present tense. Key, it's the key as a conjunction. That, for, as, because. Um, Bet tom, right? Preposition bet tom, we said before, is innocence or completeness, like he said tom levavo, levavi, levavcha, right? Your heart, again with the two bets, including the evil inclination. Asita zot, you did this, right? La asot, ein sin hey, um, to do. Asita zot, you did this, again with in the feminine. So it's using the same language as he did. It's the only thing that's missing here is it's not talking about the clean hands. It's only talking about the innocent heart. Va'echeshoch. Now this is again very interesting. Conjunctive vav. Um, the root here is het shin chaf, which means to darken, right? Choshech is darkness. Va'echshoch, it's in the imperfect, first person common singular. So God says, and so they're saying that it is in the it's the consecutive imperfect. They're saying the vav at the beginning flips it from the imperfect to the perfect. I withheld. Va'echshoch gam anochi, and I. They're translated as withheld. Literally means to darken, right? Choshech is darkness. Va'echshoch gam anochi, and I also darkened. I also withheld. Gam means also. Anochi, again, like we said before. Otcha. Um, so this is the direct object marker written with a vav, which is a little bit strange that it's bemilui. It's written fully. Otcha. That I made dark unto you. I withheld from you. Mechato. Again, very, very interesting. Um, so the mem is the prepositional mem. Chet is chet tet aleph. The aleph is missing here. And instead there's a vav. Um, that's very strange. I mean, you could kind of say that maybe this is a different root if you didn't want to go exactly according to the vocalization, but because aleph is not something that goes away very often, but here that aleph is missing. Mechato li, from sinning onto me, sinning against me. Um, Very interesting. Let me see if are there other places where het. See, that's what the aleph. Um, there's an aleph there. A chatena in Genesis 31. That the aleph kind of disappeared there. That's a strange construction. You might want to look at Genesis 31:39. Um, let's see, any other places? Does have Aleph, that has Aleph, that has Aleph. Um, that has the Aleph, that has the Aleph. This is not a rare verb. It's 238 times. I don't know how many times it shows up without the Aleph. Um, I would guess not very many times. Interesting. We'll take a look at the Rashi's. Rashi might mention, but the Aleph is missing there. Mechatoli, from sinning to against me, onto me. Al ken. So this is a preposition with the ayin, not Aleph. Al ken usually gets translated together upon thus. Therefore, al ken lo nataticha. No means not. Natati. Latet is again one of those weird primitive and ancient roots that shows up many times. Means to set or to give, right? I did not allow, right? I did not um, let you. Literally means to give, but here it very clearly means allow. Lingoa, right? So this is in the infinitive, the prepositional lamed for the infinitive. The root is nun gimel ayin, means to touch, right? I didn't let you touch aleha, preposition with the aleph not ayin, aleha, to her. I did not let you touch her. Okay. Again, very straightforward meaning. It's just the way that it's written that's a little bit strange, which um, honestly, this if I were to believe in that, in the whole critical analysis, the way some biblical scholars will analyze certain texts, I would probably say this is a very ancient text. That's what I would say. Um, it seems just the way the words are used, it does seem to be a very ancient text. That's from um, that's just how it appears to me. Okay. Verse 6, King James, and God said unto him in a dream, I would translate it as in the dream, yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thy heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me, therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Okay, NIV. Um, Verse 6. Then God said to him in the dream, yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Okay. Um, Chabad. And God said to him in a dream, again, for me, I would translate it as in the dream, I too know that you did this with the innocence of your heart, and I too have withheld you from sinning to me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. Let's look at the Rashis just because I'm really interested. Yadati ki betom levavcha. It is true that you did not intend at first to sin, but you cannot claim purity of hands. See, um, so it doesn't repeat the purity of hands, because obviously, I mean, he sent for her. Um, in this Me Too moment, it's quite clear he's not exactly the most pure of hands. I did not let you. Lo nataticha. It was not due to you that you did not touch her, but I prevented you from sinning. For I did not give you strength, and so below 31:7, I guess, yeah, 31:7, and God did not let him, the Lonatana, but and so, um, in Judges, but her father did not allow him to come. Lonatana, Avi, Lavo. Okay. Not as much as I would like Rashi to explain, but we'll keep on going. Verse 7. Ve'ata hashev eshet ha'ish ki navihu ve'yitpalel ba'adecha ve'cheye ve'im eincha meshiv da ki mot tamut ata ve'chol asher lach. Interesting. Again, I don't think, you know, if I were translating the Bible in a way to try to give all the flavor over from the Hebrew to the English, I would be tempted to actually translate this chunk of text, um, kind of like in a Shakespearean English, because that's the flavor it has to me in the Hebrew. Anyway, va'ata. So conjunctive of ata means now, right? At this moment. Et is in a moment. Ata means this moment, right? Hashev. This is he-feel imperative. So it's in the command form. Second person. Hashev. Yeah, it's in the command form. Um, of of it is in the hefel, it's in the causative, right? Cause to return. Hashev, right? Restore, return. Eshet ha'ish. So Isha means wife. Eshet Ish means wife of a man. It's in the construct form. Eshet Ha'ish, the man's wife, that man's wife, right? Specifically talking about um, Abraham's wife. He, because Navi, Navi means a prophet, who, and again, the preposition, the pronoun is being used as the present tense of the verb to be, um, which doesn't exist in Hebrew. Vayitpalel, this may be the first time we've had Vayitpalel. So this is in the reflexive, in the hitpalel form, hitpalel, hitpael form of pe lamed lamed. It means to pray. Um, yeah, vayitpalel, and he will pray. It's in the there is that vav there, but they're not. They're saying it's in conjunctive imperfect, not in the consign. In context, they're saying it's not being flipped. That's what they mean. Ba'adecha. Ba'ad means regarding. Ba'adecha means regarding you, for you. And he will pray for you. Yeah. Vecheye. So conjunctive of cheye. Again, it's an imperative of to live. Chet yud hey, and you shall live. And actually, it's the masculine singular. It's not in. I mean, that's how we would translate it as you shall live, because in context that's what it means. But that's and he shall cause you to live is kind of what it's saying. Ve'im, but if, and if, im means if. Ein cha, ein means not. Ein cha means you will not, right? You do not. Ein cha meshiv. This is in the participle, it's in the present tense. Leshevet, in the hefel, in the causative. Again, heshiv, right? If you do not restore her, give her back. Da. So this is in the. This now is in the second person. um, okay, I want to look in the. I'm looking in the constructor here. So chet yud hey, right? And we're just in the call form, right? And let's look in the imperative. Chaye. Yeah, I guess the imperative doesn't. The command form. It's close. Chaye. Chaye and here chaye. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. No. Live. Yeah. You know. You live. Yeah. Okay. Da no kimot, that, ki meaning that or because, mot tamut. Now, it's be-milui. It's written completely with the vavs, which isn't so strange. This is the infinitive absolute with the imperative. You shall surely die. Mot tamut. You can look back in Genesis, I want to say 3, where the serpent is talking with Eve, and it uses the same mot tamut. You shall surely die. The repetition in the Semitic languages, which tells you that there is a emphasis there. Mot tamut, you shall surely die. Death, you shall die. literally, but you shall surely die. This repetition is often translated as surely. Um, Ata, you, the whole and all, right? Conjunctive of, whole meaning all. Asher, pronoun relative. Lach, yours. Very interesting. The lach here, um, second person feminine singular. Yes, feminine singular. Um, all that belongs to you, um, for some reason, it's switching, which happens in the Bible. It switches genders. Um, the only real explanation I can give to that is possibly that it's talking about him in as status as the king and as the nation, and that's why it's turning feminine. Um, Interesting. I mean, obviously, this doesn't translate well into the English. Verse 7, King James. Now, therefore, restore this man, the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou restore her not, know that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. Okay, I mean, all the thous are getting making it hard. But let's see NIV. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die. Yeah. Chabad, and now return the man's wife, because he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, know that you will surely die, you and all that is yours. Um, yeah, I'm not going to do all the Rashis because that'll take forever. But these are interesting um, verses because their meaning is clear. Why uh, they are in the forms that they are is what I find interesting. Okay. וישכם אבימלך בבוקר, ויקרא לכל עבדיו, וידבר את כל הדברים האלה באוזניהם, ויראו האנשים מאוד. Interesting. Okay. So, vayashkem, the root, so this is conjunctive verb, it's in the consecutive imperfect. The the root here, shin chaf mem, means shoulder, but it's when we say somebody by yashkem, we had it before. It shows up a lot of times. It means to get up early, to get ready, early in the morning, right? Crack of dawn, really. So Avimelech got up early, right? Rose early, Avimelech. Ba boker, in the morning, right? Prepositional bet with the article. Boker means morning, from the root of bet bof resh, which means to greet. Um, and it's without above as usual. Um, Vayikra, and he called, right? Ofresh Aleph. Again, same. We've had this form many times. Conjunctive of Yud, telling you that it's in the consecutive imperfect. So it's in context. We're saying it's being flipped. Lechol, prepositional lament to all, right? To lechol, to all. Avadav. The root here is ayin bet daled, which means to serve, to work, to worship, even to worship. We use it for prayer as well. But an eved is literally a slave or a servant. They're translating it here to as servants. So he called all of his servants, Vaidaber, and he spoke right? Again, very similar to Vayomer, which we've used many times, but here it's the root is Dalet Bet Resh, which is the more harsh way of speaking, right? Et is the direct object marker, which you can darshan if you want. It's not always there. It is here. Um, and he spoke all. So he spoke all. Et is these words and other words is how we would usually darshan that direct object marker. Kol meaning all. Hadavarim, the things, right? And davar obviously is related. It's the same root as vaidaber, and he spoke these things, right? Vaidaber, it's called, yeah, and he spoke ha'ele, all of these things. Ha'davarim ha'ele, right? These specific things, right? He related all these matters. Be'oznehem. So prepositional bet. Ozen means ear. Oznaim means ears. Oznehem means their ears. Okay, in their hearing. I would actually translate in their in their ears. Be'oznehem. Vayiru. So the double yud there is to make it clear that the root here. This is conjunctive of. It's in the imperfect. Obviously, it's getting flipped. Um, the root is yud resh aleph, which means to fear, to be in awe of, not to see, which is resh aleph hey. Um, and that is in the consonants that is obvious because of the double yud. And the bava makes a third person masculine plural. So and they were in awe, they were afraid. Ha-anashim, the men, right? Ish means man, anashim it means men, it's in the plural. The men, me'od, very much. It's an adverb, me'od. And me'od, as usual, is written without a vav, the chisaron. Okay, so let's look at King James, verse 8. Um, Therefore, Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Sore afraid, I guess this is Old English. NIV, early the next morning, I'd say early in the morning, Abimelech summoned all his officials, Abadav, officials, maybe, and when he told them all that had happened, I would say all these things, they were very much afraid. They were very much afraid. Okay, yeah. Chabad, and Abimelech arose early in the morning, and he summoned all his servants, and he spoke all these words in their ears, and the men were very frightened. As usual, I like the Chabad better. Verse 9. Vayikra Avimelech le'Abraham vayomer lo ma asita lanu ume chatati lach ki heveta alai ve'al mamlachti chata'a gedola ma'asim asher lo ya'asu asiti imadi. Interesting. Vayikra, so again, conjunctive vav, it's an imperfect. The root is kofresh aleph, to call. So he called Avimelech to Abraham, right? Prepositional lamed, Abraham, vayomer, and he said, again, in conjunctive vav, and it's getting flipped from the imperfect, lo, to him, me asita, what, me, what asita, have you done, right? The root is ein sin hey. Asita, have you done? It's an imperfect. Lanu, to us, right? Prepositional lamed, lanu, to us. Ume, and what? So conjunctive of me, ma, what? right? Chatati, this time the chet, it's chet tet aleph with the aleph. What? How have I sinned, lach, right, to you? How have I offended you? They're translating, right? Lach again. It's in the second person feminine singular, right? Ki, that's for, yeah, it's the conjunction, right? Heveta, so this is the hif il of lavo, of bet aleph hey. It's in the perfect second person masculine singular that you have brought, right? The lavo means to bring. This is the causative of bring, so you have brought, right? Bo means to come. Um, the causative of to come is to bring, to cause to come, right? Heveta alai, onto me, right? This is the preposition with the ayin, not aleph, uh, onto me. Ve'al mamlachti, and upon. So the root of this noun, mamlacha, is melech, mem lamed chaf, which means which means king or to rule, right? Mamlachti means mamlechet, is a kingdom, right? Mamlachti is my kingdom. Chata'a gedola. So this comes again from the root chet. It does have the aleph. Chata'a, a great sin, right? It's being in the feminine. Chet, chata'a, here being put in the feminine kind of makes it, aggrandizes it a bit. Makes it a chata'a gedola, a great sin. The roots of gedola obviously being gimel daled lamed, which means great, to grow, to, right. So chata'a gedola, great sin, great, yeah, sinning. And this is this root chet tet aleph is from archery, to miss, right? To miss in archery, which is also the root of the word sin in English. Chata'a gedola, a great sin. Ma'asim. So the root is ayin sin he. Ma'asim are deeds, right? La'asot is to do. Ma'asim are deeds. It's in the plural. Ma'asim asher, that's the pronoun relative. That lo, that shall not, lo, not. Ya'asu, so again, la'asot is the root here, to do. Ya'asu, it's in the imperfect of the nif'al, shall not be done, should not be done. Ya'asu, third person masculine plural, that people should not do. So things that should not be done, right, that people should not do. Asiti, I have done, right? It's in a perfect. Asiti imadi, im asiti, asita, you did, not asiti, sorry. You did imadi, you did things that should not be done, right? Chata gedola ma'asim asher, right? Why are you doing this to me? Why have you done this to me? Right? Let's look at how King James translates verse 9. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, Why hast thou done what hast thou done unto us, and what have I offended thee, and that thou hast brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. Okay. NIV. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, What have you done to us? How have I wronged you, that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? Okay. You have done things to me that should never be done. Yeah, yeah, that's an okay translation. Um, Chabad and Avimelech summoned Abraham um, and said to him, "What have you done to us, and what have I sinned against you, that you have brought upon me and upon my kingdom a great sin? Deeds that are not done, you have done to me." Uh, okay, not gonna do the Rashi's. Next, verse 10. Vayomer Avimelech el Abraham, Ma ra'ita ki asita et hadavar hazeh. Vayomer, so conjunctive vav, it's in the consecutive imperfect of to say. Avimelech, that is his name. El Abraham, so preposition with the aleph, not ayin. Abraham is his name. Ma, what? Ra'ita, did you see? Right? The root is resh aleph he, to see. Ra'ita, what did you see? Ki asita, that. Right? Ki is a conjunction, that for because. Asita, you have done this. Et, that you have done. Et is the direct object marker. Hadavar, the article with thing, this thing. Hadavar hazeh, that you have done this thing. So Avimelech says to Abraham, "What did you see that you did this thing?" Right? Because God had said to him, "You're a prophet." So he must have seen something, prophesied something, which caused him to do this. And Avimelech said unto Abraham, this is King James, "What sawest thou, and that thou hast done this thing?" Okay, NIV. And Abimelech said, asked Abraham, "What was your reason for doing this?" I don't like that changing to "what was your reason," because I don't think it's making clear that Abimelech is asking Abraham about his prophecy. Chabad. And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What did you see that you did this thing?" Right? Hadavar hazeh, this thing. Okay. As usual, I prefer the Chabad. Verse 11. Vayomer Abraham ki amarti rak ein yirat Elohim bamakom hazeh v'harguni al davar ishti. So it's very similar to what happened in Egypt. Vayomer, so conjunctive of, the yod says it's an imperfect, but because in context, we're saying it's being flipped. Amar said Abraham, ki, because, right, for, that's the conjunction. Amarti, I said, I thought, right, literally I said, but makes sense they're translating I might. Rock, rock means only. They're translating as surely, okay. Okay. Not exactly sure. Surely, rock. I would probably just translate it as because. Ain, there is not. Yirat Elohim, right? So this is in the smichut, it's in the construct, fear of God. There is not fear of God. Yirat Elohim, right? Elohim is the Shem Elokut. It's the more general way we refer to God. There is not fear of God. This is in the construct form where two or more nouns form a new concept together. There is no fear of God. Ba makom. So, okay. Prepositional bet with the article makom. In the place. Curiously, in the Hebrew, makom, the word makom, written with the vav as usual here, bemilui, actually refers to God. So, Yirat Elokim Bamakom, while the simple meaning is that there's no that in this place people don't fear God, but it kind of implies they don't really fear God, right? There is a sort of doubleness there, a repetition and an emphasis. Bamakom hazeh, in this place. That's what it literally and easily means. Veharaguni. So conjunctive vav. The root is hey resh gimel, which we said to kill, and and that is not murder, that which would be retzach. This is to kill. Same word he used earlier. And they plural will kill me. Right? It's in the perfect, but uh, it's saying I thought they would kill me. Right? Al is the preposition with the ayin. Davar means regarding. I mean means thing, a matter, account because of Aldabar. Ishti, my wife. They will kill me because of my wife, on account of my wife. It is in the smichut. It is in the construct form with isha. Ishti is my wife. King James, verse 11, and Abraham said, because I thought surely the fear of God is not in this place. Okay. And they will slay me for my wife's sake. Okay. NIV, Abraham replied, I don't like the reply there. It doesn't actually say Vayeshev, so it's not. I don't. It sounds better, but that's not what the words say. That's why I don't like the more figurative translation of the NIV. And Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place. Yeah. And they will kill me because of my wife. Okay. Chabad, and also indeed. Hold on. And Abraham said, for I said, surely there is no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Not gonna do the Rashi's. Okay, let's go to verse 12. Vegam amna achoti bat avi hi ach lo bat imi vetihi li leisha. Interesting. Okay. I am going to want to read this Rashi here. Okay, vegam. So conjunctive of gam also, but also amna. So the root here is aleph mem nun, which means to believe. The word is related to the word amen, right? I believe. Amna, but also truly indeed, I guess I did. Achoti, my sister, without a vav, as usual. Achoti, um, yeah, I think as usual. Bat Avi, the daughter of my father, Bat Avi, in the snichot, right? Daughter of my father. He, she is. That's the pronoun being used as the present tense of the verb to be. Ach, yet, but. Ach is a limiting adverb. Um, Lo bat ini, she is not the daughter of my mother, right? Lo bat imi. Avi means my father. Imi means my mother. She is not the daughter of my mother. Vatihi li leisha, and she became my wife. Vatihi, it's in the consecutive imperfect third person feminine singular, right? Vatehi li leisha, and she became my wife. Became for me a wife, leisha, as a wife. Prepositional lamed isha meaning wife, woman or wife. Okay. King James, verse 12. And yet, indeed, she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. Okay. NIV, besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife. Okay. Chabad, and also indeed she is my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. We'll read the Rashis because nothing. And the daughter of one's father is permitted to a Noachide to marry, right? Because in the Torah, obviously, it's not allowed. For a Gentile has no father. The lineage is not traced from his father, only from his mother. And in order to justify his words, he answered him in this way. Now, if you ask, was she not the daughter of his brother, his father's brother, right? The answer is that grandchildren are considered like children. Therefore, she was considered as Terach's daughter. And so did he say to Lot, "We are kinsmen, anashim achim." Although in fact Lot was his brother Haran's son. So Sarah was his niece, which by Torah law is allowed. Obviously, we don't do that anymore. And he's explaining in such a way she is a kinsman, but not actually his sister, half sister. These get difficult. Yeah. Okay. Verse 13. Vayehi ka'asher hit'u oti Elohim mi beit avi vayomer la ze chastech asher ta'asi imadi el kol hamakom asher navo shama imri li achi hu. Vayehi, so conjunctive vav, it's an imperfect, and it's getting flipped because of the vav. So it came to pass, and it was ka-asher, prepositional chaf, as asher is the pronoun relative, as it came to pass, right? Hit-u. So the root here is taf ayin hey, which means to turn towards, to err, hit-u. Primitive root, to err, deceive, go astray. Stagger. You can look in the concordance here. When God Hitu caused, God and first of all, it's in the plural, and although the word God is always in the plural. It usually takes a singular verb, but here it's taking it in the plural, and I'm not exactly sure why the root. I mean, it's in the Hefil, they say, which I can agree with. It's in the causative, to turn, to err, to dissemble. You can look in the concordance. Ot, direct object marker, first person common singular. Me, right? Caused me. Ot. Elohim, right? God. I almost want to say that actually refers to the angels because it's in the plural, and we don't usually conjugate or verbs. It's very rare. Only a few places in the Bible does the verb get conjugated in a plural. Hitu ati elokim. Me bait from the house of my father, right? Of my father. It's in the construct Beit Avi, house of my father. From the house of my father, prepositional noun. Va'omer, and I said, it's conjunctive vav. The aleph is because the first root is the first radical of the root is an aleph. Um, it gets kind of strange, and that's why there's only one aleph. That Omer, and I said, lah, to her, ze chastech, literally this, ze means this. It's kind of being used as a stand-in for the verb to be. Chesed is loving kindness. It comes up in the Torah a lot. It's a concept to know. Chasdech, your kindness, right? Do me this kindness. Asher ta'asi, pronoun relative, that you shall do. Chasdech is the feminine of you, right? Yours, that you feminine shall do. Your feminine kindness. Asher ta'asi, which you shall do, right? It's an imperfect second person feminine singular of la'asot, to do. Asher ta'asi, which you shall do. Imadi, with me. El is a preposition with the aleph, right? Kol makom, every hamakom, in each place, in all the places. Kol hamakom, in every place. Asher, pronoun relative. Navo, we shall go. Written with a vav, it's written milui here, which is a tiny bit strange. We shall go, right? It's an imperfect first person collective plural. I mean common plural. Navo, we shall go. Shama, there. That Shama means there. The hey at the end is not the third person feminine singular. This is the directional hey we talked about. Imri, say, right? This is the imperative, the feminine singular imperative. Say, Imri, li, to me, achihu. Well, say regarding me, not to me. Imri li, say of me. Achihu, he is my brother. Ach means brother, achi means mine. Who, again, the pronoun is being used as the verb to be. This almost feels like it's a text that was translated into the Hebrew. If I were doing the kind of biblical criticism that people do, it would almost be like this is a story that's being translated from another language into the Hebrew. Kind of feels like it. especially because of all the pronouns being used as the verb to be. Uh, but, okay. Verse 13. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is thy kindness which thou shalt show unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. It's just, I don't feel like it captures the feeling there. Um, Verse 13. And when God had me wander from my father's house, I said to her, This is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, He is my brother. Okay, let's look at the Rashis. Um, and it came to pass. Well, first let's read the translation. And it came to pass when God caused me to wander. They're also translating as wander. From my father's house, and that I said to her, This is your kindness which you shall do with me. Whither we come, say about me, He is my brother. Let's do the Rashis just because this is really a strange thing. He kasher hitu ot. Onkelos, this is the Targum, the translation we pretty much consider official from the Hebrew into the Aramaic. Onkelos rendered as he rendered, and it came to pass when the peoples went astray after the work of their hands, that God brought me near to his fear from my father's house. You know, I almost want to look up the Onkelos. Let me pull up Safaria. Um, let's because I'm interested in Genesis 20 and we're on verse 13. Let me see the Targum Onkelos. Okay. V'hava kad tau amamaya Batar Ovadei Yedehon Yati Karev Havaya Ledahate Mibet Ava Va'amarit La Den Tevutech Tich Di Tabdi Imi Lachol Atra Denhach Letaman Amari Alai Achihu. So this is this is how Onkelos translates it, and it was when the people strayed after their handiwork. So when people when people started to sin, that and so v'yichah kasher hit'u oti Elokim mibeit avi. So yeah, I kind of like how Onkelos seems to be translating this. He seems to be translating this hitu as not really speaking about God, but as talking about how people started to sin. Hitu oti Elokim mibeit avi, and yeah, this is Onkelos has a very different reading than would be the I don't know how to translate this. He's translating the hitu as talking about people, not talking about God. That's how I would see it, and I think that's how Rashi's kind of saying it. When God, not how it's being translated. Onkelos rendered as he rendered, and it came to pass when people came into astray. However, it can also be interpreted in a more appropriate manner according to its structure as follows. When the Holy One, blessed be He, took me out of my father's house to be a wanderer, roaming from place to place, I knew that I would pass through places where there are wicked people, and therefore I said to her, this is your kindness. משוטט ונד ממקום למקום. God caused me to wander. Lashon Rabim Va'al Titma. So Rashi is explaining why it's in the plural. But do not wonder at this, because in many places, words denoting godliness and words denoting authority are expressed in the plural. Whom God went, Halahu, the living God, Elohim Chaim, holy God, Kedoshim. And all references to godliness or to authority are in the plural, as for example, Joseph's Adonai, the Lord, the Lord, right? Now, if you ask why is the expression hitu used here, the answer is that anyone who is exiled from his place and is not settled to as in 21:14, and she walked and she wandered. Or in Psalms, I wandered to and fro, no wonder, to seek their food. Really, okay. So I'm not 100% happy with Rashi here. I think Onkelos, I'm gonna have to side with Onkelos here. As much as I love Rashi. And yes, I mean, obviously, in many places, God is referred to in the plural, but the verb is rarely in the plural, very rarely. Yeah. Yeah, I actually I prefer the Onkelos. I think Onkelos gives better meaning to this word hitu than Rashi does. I mean, I almost want to. I feel like I'm gonna look at. Let's see what Ibn Ezra says. Ramban. Where's the Ramban? There is no Ramban on here. Let's see what the Radak says. Radak. Radak is saying that it's in plural because he's talking to he's talking to people who refer to God in the plural. I'm not a huge fan of that. Yeah, that's what the Radak says. Okay. Okay. Let's keep on going. Okay. ויקח אבימלך צאן ובקר ועבדים ושפחות וייתן לאברהם וישב לו את שרה אשתו. Okay. Vayikach, so conjunctive vav, consecutive imperfect, right? It's getting flipped. Lakachat, to take. Um, so Avimelech took. Tzon means sheep. Bakar, it's in the singular, but that's because in Hebrew, that's how you talk about the plural. So when we say in the United States, I mean in English, we'll say dogs are cute, right? In Hebrew, you'd say dog is cute, and that's what it would mean. So he took ton uvakar. He took sheep and oxen, right? He took sheep and oxen, right? Va'avadim, and slaves, men servants, so male slaves, avadim. Ushfachot, and shifcha means female servant, so female slave. Shfachot, there's no vav in between the chet and the taf. If you're paying attention to that, it's only a little bit strange to me, but it's not there in case you're paying attention. Vayiten, and he gave, right? Again, conjunctive above, it's in consecutive and perfect of to give. Le Abraham, so prepositional lamed to Abraham. Vayashev, and so this is the he fill again, restored, they're translating it as, and he caused to go back to, and gave back, right? Vayashev, lo, and he restored to him, et Sarah Ishto. Direct object marker, Sarah, his wife. Gave back to him his wife. Verse 14, King James. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and manservants and women servants and gave them unto Abraham and restored him Sarah, his wife. Okay. NIV, then Abimelech brought sheep and I prefer took, sheep and cattle and male and female slaves, and gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah, his wife, to him. Yeah, okay. Verse 14, and Abimelech took flocks and cattle, okay, and manservants and maidservants, and he gave them to Abraham, and he restored to him his wife Sarah. Okay, next verse. Just checking. Yeah, I thought I saw a punctuation there, but it's not there. Okay, Vayomer Avimelech hine artzi lefanecha betov beinecha shev. So conjunctive of, and he said, right? It's in the consecutive imperfect. Avimelech is his name. Hine, again the interjection behold, right? So he, they're saying see. I usually translate hine as behold. Artsi, my land. Eretz means land. Artsi means my land. Lefanecha is before you, right? Panim literally means face. Lefanecha means before you, in front of you. Batov, prepositional bet with the article tov, right, meaning good. The good, that which is good. Batov, the best, right? Be'enecha, in your eyes, chef. So in the best of places you like, wherever you like, your eyes, wherever your eyes like, chef. That's the imperative of to settle or to sit. Well, settle, I would say. I usually translate this as settle. They're translating it as dwell. I usually use the word shochen, like shchina for dwelling, dwell. King James, verse 15, and Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell where it pleaseth thee. Okay. NIV, and Abimelech said, My land is before you, live wherever you like. Very figurative translation. Chabad, and Abimelech said, Here is my land before you, wherever it pleases you, you may dwell. Okay. Um, and you can read the Rashis if you like. I'm not going to do a real Rashi. Ulasara Amar, Hine natati elef kesef la'achich, Hine hu lach kesut einayim, lechol asher itach, ve'et kol v'nachochat. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Sarah, and to Sarah, right? So conjunctive of prepositional lamed, Sarah is her name, right? And to Sarah, Amar, he said, Hine, behold, Natati, I have given, right? This is latet, to give. Natati, I have given, in the perfect. Elef means 1,000. Kesef means silver, so 1,000 pieces of silver. Elef kesef. Le'achich, to your brother, right? Achich, second person feminine singular. Obviously, she's feminine to you, right? So I gave 1,000 pieces of silver to your brother. Hine, who? So hine, they're translated as indeed. Usually I translate as behold. Hu lach, he is yours. Well, it is yours or he is yours. Hu lach, it is for you. It is you. Kesut. So kesut, interesting word. Lechasot means to cover. Kesut, yeah, covering. It is for you. Kesut einayim. It is a covering of the eyes. Kesut einayim. Interesting. Covering of the eyes. I think we're gonna have to read the Rashis on this. What exactly he means. This is a covering. Lechol asher itach. To all. Lechol, right? Prepositional lamed. Einayim. Okay. Let's be more careful with the kesut einayim. Kesut means covering. Einayim means eyes. This is in the smichut. It's in the construct form where two or more words put together refer to a new concept. What exactly this new concept, kesut einayim, is I'm not sure. I would be interested to see if kesut einayim shows up anywhere else in the Bible. Kesut shows up how many times in the Bible? 8 times total. Does it ever use kesut einayim? In this one, kesuta ve'anata, clothing, kesuta, covering, garment, kesut bakara, Job, kesut la'abda, that's a name, kesut la'abnon, kesutam. Yeah, it doesn't seem. I mean, it's used as a garment in other places. Not really sure. Okay, lechol asher itach, to all. Lechol, right? Prepositional lamed. Chol means all. Asher, pronoun relative. Itach, that are with you. Second person feminine singular, that are with you. ve'et kol v'nochachat. So nochachat nif'al participle. Like tochacha. Oof. So the root here is um the root here is nochachat. You have been so chastisement, right? Lahochiach means to prove, to chastise. This is apparently this is the first time. We see nochachat. You have been cleared. You have lachol nochachat. So he gives her 1,000 pieces of silver. He gives 1,000 pieces of silver to Abraham, and he says to her, "This is for you a covering of eyes, a garment for the eyes, and whew, this is ואת כל ונוכחת." And before everybody you shall be vindicated. Thus she was vindicated. ואת כל ונוכחת. Ugh, I don't know how to translate this. I understand what it's saying. I guess I do how to translate it. I know how to translate it. I don't know how to translate it so that it would translate that way. Again, this particular passage, the meaning is clear. Why it says it this way it does is not clear to me. Let's look at verse 16 in King James. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee, a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all other, thus she was reproved. NIV. To Sarah he said, I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. So where they came up with the shekels, I have no idea. It just says 1,000 silver. I guess they're assuming it, and then they're actually making the actual pounds. In the notes, they say 25 pounds or 12 kilograms of silver. I think that they're going too far with that, but this is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated. This is to cover the offense against you. Kesut einayim. No. NIV seems to be going way too far here. I can't say that. Let's see what Chabad does. And to Sarah he said, Behold, I have given 1,000 pieces of silver to your brother. Behold, it is to you a covering of the eyes for all who are with you, and with all you shall contend. Ve'et kol v'nochachat. let's read the Rashi's because I don't know what to do. And to Sarah he said, Abimelech said in her honor in order to appease her, behold, I have bestowed upon you this honor. I have given money to your brother, about whom you said, he is my brother. Behold, this money and this honor are to you a covering of the eyes. For all who are with you, this will cover their eyes. Yechasu einehem shelo yikaliducha. That they shouldn't say anything. For had I returned you empty-handed, they would say, after you violated her, you returned her. Now that I had to spend much money and to appease you, they will know that against you, my will, I returned you, and through a miracle, because I gave money. This should be a kesut einayim. Ooh. And with all of you, ve'im kol ba'ei ha'olam, and with all the people in the world, you shall contend, v'nochachat. Yehelach b'tchon peh lehitvo. V'keach la'arot devarim necharim halalu. Clarification of the matter is prover. To clarify, uncle is translated in a different manner. You know what? Maybe I want to look at the uncle here. And the language of the verse fits in with the Targum in the following manner. Behold, it will be for you a covering of honor on account of my eyes, which gazed upon you and upon all who are with you. Therefore, he translated, and I saw you and all who are with you. There is a midrashic interpretation, but I have explained what fits the language of the verse. So, okay, now I'm gonna have to look up a verse. So we're in 2016. Let's look at Onkelos. No, thank you.
Alright, can I see my dress?
No. Okay. Ulasara Amar Ha Yahavit Elef Sal'in Dechsav La'achich Ha Hu Lich Kisut Dikar Chalaf Deshlicht Devartich V'chazet Yatich V'yat Kol Data Da'am Imach V'al Kol Ma Da'amarit Atokacha. Onkelos is saying Kasut Einayim that it is that he's paying for the fact he got to see her. Strange verse. Kesut einayim. It is a covering of the eyes. What exactly kesut einayim means? Yeah, it's up to you. If you want to continue considering this, you please leave a comment, and we'll take it from there. Verse 17. Vayitpalel Abraham el ha'elokim. Vayirpa Elokim et Avimelech ve'et ishto ve'amhotav ve'yaledu. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So Vayitpalel, it's in the reflexive to pray, right? Conjunctive of, it's in the consecutive imperfect, so it's getting flipped. Abraham prayed. El, and this is a preposition with the aleph, 9. Ha Elokim, right? To God, right? And again, this is the God, right? with the article that doesn't translate very well. Ve'yirpa, so consecutive imperfect again, the conjunctive of, and it's getting flipped because of the vav. The root here is resh pe aleph, and was healed, and well, ve'yirpa, and healed, and God healed Elohim, and God healed et Avimelech. God healed Avimelech. So Avimelech was made sick. I guess that's where Vayechshoch, before it says darkened, God kept him from sinning. Um, Avimelech. Okay, wait. So God healed Avimelech and his wife, Ve'et Ishto. So this is direct object markers, both with Avimelech and his wife, but not Amhotav, not his uh, female servants. This is different from Shifcha. Shifcha and Amma kind of mean the same thing, but and Amma is actually, I guess, has a slightly better status than as far as slavery goes. Might even translate it as a concubine, Amma. So his wife, Avimelech, and his wife, and his, I would probably translate this as concubine, were um, were healed. Um, Vayaladu, and they bore children. And well, it says they could bear children, but it's in the imperfect. I would say that they did bear children and they had children. Speaking, so Abraham prayed for them. They were healed. Um, Not that they were blessed; they were healed. Right. So okay, let's look at King James. So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maid servants. Hotav, yeah, his concubines. That is in the plural. There, it is written bechisaron without a vav, but that's not so strange. Yeah, his and they bear children. Yeah. NIV. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female slaves, so they could have children again. Let's look at Chabad. And Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his handmaids, and they gave birth. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I would say, and they gave birth. I don't know why that's so. What you call it? And Rashi. Okay, you can read the Rashis yourself. But honestly, this Onkelos seems to explain this the best, in my opinion. Okay, verse 18. Ki atzor atzar havaya ba'ad kol rechem lebeit Avimelech al davar Sarah eshet Abraham. Okay, so this explains exactly why they needed to be healed. Ki, because, right, for, it's a conjunction. Atzor atzar. So again, the root here is ayin tzadek resh, which means to stop, to collect. It can refer to a treasury, right? Otzar Hamelach is the king's treasury. Um, Yeah, kept. Okay, so restrained. Um, Atzor Atzar. So this is so usually this gets translated as surely. So for God had surely stopped. Um, they're saying completely. It's the repetition in the Semitic, which in Semitic languages, which in is an emphasis, emphasizing, emphatic way of saying it. Ki atzor atzar havaya. This may be the first time that the actual tetragrammaton is used in this full thing, because God had stopped, had surely closed up. Ba'ad, preposition because of, regarding, right? We've had this preposition several times in this passage. Kol, all, um, had stopped all rechem meaning wounds, right? Lebeit Avimelech, prepositional lamed, of the house, in the house, to the house of Avimelech. It's in the construct form of Avimelech. So the house of Avimelech. Al davar, this preposition with the ayin and aleph, davar, because of the matter of davar sarah. It's in the construct davar and sarah, the matter of, because of the matter of, regarding Sarah. Eshet Abraham, the wife of Abraham, again in the construct wife and Abraham. Um, and there is a punctuation here, samech, telling you that there is a satum, there is a closed space in the scroll, um, kind of a paragraph marker, it really is. Um, so that's the paragraph there, right? Let's look at the King James. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Avimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Um, King NIV, for the Lord, and notice the only thing I want to make clear for you here is, you'll notice that the way Lord is used here is different than how Lord is used in verse 4. And the NIV makes that clear, but the King James doesn't. Um, this this last one is the Tetragrammaton, is the Shem Havaya, and verse 4 is actually Shem Adnut. It's not the Shem Havaya. That gets lost in translation often. The NIV makes that clear. For the Lord had kept all the women in Abimelech's house from conceiving because of Abraham's wife Sarah. Again, a very figurative, not literal translation. Let's look at Chabad. For the Lord had shut every womb of Abimelech's house because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. They don't really translate the Atzar, right? Had surely shut, or completely shut, or King James says fast. I would say completely, probably is how I would have translated it. Okay, and that is the end of chapter 20. Um, that was kind of quick. I hope this has been helpful to you in getting a little bit of a better flavor for the text and what's going on here. As always, I will end with this verse from Tzefania 3:9. Ki az epoch el amim safa berra likro chulam b'shem havaya la'ovdo shchem echad. For therefore I will turn over, I will restore to the peoples, to all the peoples, a winnowed language, a pure language. All of them, so all of them may call in the name of God, to serve him in one with one shoulder in one accord together. Um, and hopefully that will be true. Shalom. Be well.